Join the team.
Hey team, it's McGuire Review, and today we get the brand new Wizkids Dungeons & Dragons Frameworks. Now, what are frameworks? So, if you know Wizkids makes a ton of different miniatures for different IPs and different lines that you can use in your RPG games, whether it's Pathfinder or Dungeons & Dragons. Here we have the Dungeons & Dragons brand. These are all branded for Dungeons & Dragons. We may see Paizo and Pathfinder come in the future as well. I'm not sure. Hopefully we do. But how are these different? So if we go here and we look at some other miniatures that we have from Wizkids, you'll see here that they do make, these smaller style miniatures that come painted. They also offer these miniatures unpainted as well, where you can prime them and paint them if you want to, but they don't have anywhere near the amount of detail and quality of what you're going to find in these. You would think of these almost like as your top grade premium experience for having a miniature on the tabletop, whether it's a hero that you want to be and that represents your hero, or it's a various different monster, NPC, or adversary that you'd be coming into contact with while you're playing your RPG games. Now, this series is going to follow more of a hobby approach as well. So if you're familiar with any of the companies that make sprue-based miniatures where you are clipping pieces out, you're gluing those pieces together, and you're creating your final miniature, which then you would prime and paint if you want to, that's the style that this is going to follow. And it really, from my opinion, is something that challenges a lot of what's out there currently in the market because of the price range as well as the quality that you get for these miniatures. Now, for some of these smaller ones here, these are going to be going for MSRP of $14.99, but you're going to be able to find those, obviously, outside of that MSRP price for cheaper than that. Then you're going to have packs that are like this here. And they call these, I think they call these the fat packs. They're going to be packs that are going to have a little bit of a larger sculpt, maybe a little bit more intricate sculpt, and there's also going to be extra pieces that you're going to get in these boxes, which I think is pretty cool as well. And we'll talk in this video about kit bashing and all these extra things that you can do if you get a number of these different boxes. Then you're going to have boxes like this, which are going to be kind of multi-pack or multi-piece boxes, where you can see here that this contains enough parts to build 8 different orcs. And they do come extremely different as well. There's all kinds of different pieces, and you can customize these as you put them together and build them. And that's the beauty of having all the little pieces on the sprues that you can cut out and then glue together however you see fit to create orc army or orc pack that you'd have to interact with of your dreams. There's something else they do really cool with things like this, is they'll include little pieces that will help you understand the numbering of the units in the box. So is it orc number 1 or orc number 3? There's different pieces that will be included in there that can help with that as well in some of these packs. And then you're going to have examples like this, where you're going to have more detailed, larger pieces like this beholder here, as well as this awesome stone giant. I love this stone giant and all the different options that are available here. And again, whatever you see on the pack, there's at least another, if not 2 other ways that this thing can look after you put everything together. And we'll have close-ups of all of these as well as I'm going through this. This one here with the stone giant has a number of different things. There's a little goat you can kind of put up there. There's a couple little like a stone, it looks like a unicorn kind of in stone that you can put on the base, or you can use for something totally different. And that's what's cool about what's in these packs, is that there will be all these little extra pieces that you can use for just, special things you want to put on the board. Maybe there are objectives you want to reach, or things you need to find and do within your RPG game, or they're pieces that you might want to take some of the pieces from this and maybe kit bash it onto the Dwarf Barbarian. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that you can do with these extra pieces that are left over. So let's take a look. I'm going to move these out of the way here a little bit. We're going to get into some of these, and I'm going to show you exactly what you're going to be doing when you use these and you get them out of the box, okay? So we will look at the human Cleric here, which was one of my favorites that were in this sample pack. I will say I call it a sample pack. Wizkids did send this for review, and this was the sample pack that did arrive. There is one other tier of miniatures. My sample pack did not have it, but there is a premium tier as well. It's a larger box than even this one. There is only one of the premium miniatures that are going to be in this first, what they're calling Wave 1, kind of the first release. I would say more of a market test of this product. I would assume as they go through more waves into the future, I have a feeling these are going to do very well. They'll have more of these premium type models, and maybe we can get the premium model and some of these other ones on the channel in time to come as well. But they sent a number of them, obviously, as you can see, for a sample, and we're going to go through right what you're going to find in these boxes. So with the human Cleric, there is a number of different things that are going to be included in that box on that sprue, and a number of different poses and ways that you can actually put the Cleric together. Now, I went ahead, for example, and built the Cleric already. You can see the Cleric right here. They do come with the clear bases. Not a problem if you're not a fan of the clear bases. They're just the standard little clear base. You can go online, very low cost, and get a whole bag of the black little bases. If you do want the black bases, it's not a problem. You just take this, make it all up, prime it, paint it, whatever you want to do, and then go ahead and glue it on your base. I'm going to stick with the clear base. I do prefer the clear bases with my RPG miniatures. I just really like the way that it looks sitting on the maps, and then I can still kind of see down through the map. I just like the way it looks. I just visually like that. So I'm going to keep the clear base that it came with. These things will not be included. These are two items that you will need to do the build. Now, there's a number of other tools you can use, from different little like files and razors and shaving tools. I find if you just have a good pair of snippers, you can get these online. I got these from Amazon. They just need to have a little bit. You'll see the nose is kind of curved there. And you want to get a pair that's kind of tiny, kind of small like that, so you can get into small places. And I can use these actually to clip the pieces out, and then after the pieces are out, I can actually take them and I kind of use I kind of just go like that around the edges, and I'm able to kind of shear it down. First, you needed to use a file as well. But if you do have a little nail file, you can use a nail file. I generally just use these, and it does the trick perfectly well. Okay, and then you're going to need some type of glue. I just prefer the Loctite super glue. I do get the gel. I think that is important to have the gel because it doesn't just dribble all over the place. So just get yourself a little gel super glue. There's plastic glues. There's all kinds of different things you can use, but I use this and I think it works the best. I've never had a problem with it. Seals up perfectly, never breaks. Everything's always good. Okay, I have built the Cleric already, and I've designed it in the way that I wanted to do it. So you'll see here a close-up as we kind of go through this. This is the sprue. This is what you'll find in the box. You will generally, in a bag, they put it in a larger bag like this. You'll find a single bag that'll have your base in it, which obviously now you're getting a free little extra spare baggie, which I would use to hold any of the spare parts if you do cut them all out. You'll find a single paper that will show you how all of the model and the different options are that it can be built, that'll be included. And then you generally, with these smaller ones, will have a single sprue. Now, in the case that the model, like the human Cleric, this comes with the standard gray plastic. There's also a part of this model, and you'll be able to see on the close-ups as well, that there's a clear plastic that's included in this one. So some of these have clear plastic as well. And we'll open up the Cleric box. If that was the case that it came like that, then you'll also receive another little sprue that will have the clear plastic. And, this one had a really, really cool design where you could have had like a mace or a weapon in one hand. There's even a hammer that's included, and we're going to go over that here in a second. And then the other hand could be like casting like a healing spell or something, which looked really, really cool. And I almost went with that, but I just thought, the classic paladin that could almost be, well, the Cleric, it's technically a Cleric, but I thought, if I go with this, with the really cool looking shield, I can go Cleric or even Paladin. And I just thought this looked really, really cool with the shield and the back there with the clear piece, and you could even customize the shield with a couple different symbols that they included to be able to be put on there. It's absolutely the quality that you would expect with any of your other higher name companies, we'll say, out there that make sprue-based miniatures for larger tabletop warfare games. These are absolutely on par with sculpt and posing and quality. I mean, I think as they go through the different waves, they're probably going to get better and better, but these are pretty good. I mean, for the price that you're paying and the quality that you're getting in these sculpts, they really do look good. I mean, there's some things that could potentially be better. For instance, in this Cleric here, versus kind of in this center part, just kind of going back and being sort of square and then coming out. I mean, if they would have went the distance of like rounding out the cloak and having the leg actually come up, it would be something that you would never really see unless you picked up the model and looked inside like that. But it's just those extra touches that I think as they build out this line, I'd like to see them continue to get higher quality there on their sculpting and their details. But for what they have here in the first line, it's really amazing. I mean, the amount of quality and detail and sculpting that are on these is well beyond anything that you're going to get from these lines like this, or even the premium lines that are unpainted or painted. The sculpting that you've got here and the quality of these are well beyond what you're going to get in those. And that's why they are going to cost a little bit more money. You're also paying for the hobby as well of being able to go through, cut them out of the sprues, put them together, customize it the way that you want it to be. You can paint it or you can leave it just like this if you want to, and they still look super awesome. So that's completely up to you. So a little bit of this price is definitely going to be involved in the hobby aspect of what we have here too. Okay, so again, the example of what you get in the box, you got the sprues. Sometimes you're going to get the extra one here. You'll see that after I've built the human cleric, I've got a number of extra pieces that are still on here. And that's the beauty to these. Anything that's left over, I can either, one, decide to glue and just put extra pieces on this, which I could, right? And I still may. There's a kind of a almost like a Thor type hammer that's right here that it's not used. And I thought about cutting that off and actually gluing that kind of hanging off the side down here. And I probably will do that because I think it would look really, really cool and even add more detail to the sculpt. So I'll definitely probably do that. But then there's another part here that you can put on the shield. There's another little part here that you can put on the backpack, but I chose to go with a different look. There's actually a different styled head. There's actually a really, really cool looking adventurer's kind of backpack that's right here. Another hand holding kind of like a mace type weapon. All of these things can be reused and what they call kit bashing on other models. So you can really get quite customized with these if you get a number of the different sets, and that's what makes it kind of cool. So that's pretty awesome, and I like that they gave you more than what you needed for the current model to give you that fun of sort of kit bashing over time. Now, the other thing that I thought was pretty awesome with the design of how they made these sprues is most of the time sprues just come like this, but they won't have these little, you'll see these little nubs sticking out, right? It's almost like it's a tiny little table. Usually those won't be there. What happens is just the sprue sits flat on the ground. But with those little nubs being there, you'll see that it actually can sit up from the table. And that's good for a number of reasons, because some people like to prime and even sometimes paint. I'm not a big fan of painting on the sprue, but some people will. But a lot of people will use and they'll prime everything on the sprue. And if you want that to dry after it's priming, well, now it can easily dry no problem because it's sitting up off the table and just kind of airing out, right? Not sitting directly on something. So that's really good. The other thing that's cool about that is they have a little section at the top, and if you have multiple sprues, they fit right together and they stack on top of one another. So you can just put them together like this, and stack them, and they don't touch at all. Like there's an area in between, a nice area of air and space in between those two sprues, where if you're now having multiple sprues that you're all priming at once, say you have 10, 15 of them, it doesn't matter. You just stack them all up, and in one tower, they can all dry and sit. Or if you're just not doing that, you're just taking them all out and building them, you can stack them all up without them just sitting everywhere, right? They're all nicely and neatly stacked up like a tower as you're building them. And that's going to be important for some of these larger models that come with 2, 3, 4 different racks of sprues. It's really cool. You can just set them right up like that. And they take less space. They're all neatly, nicely organized. And I just thought that was a really smart design for Wizkids to think about that, where I don't know that I've personally seen that approach anywhere else. Maybe there are companies that do this, but I haven't seen that. I just thought that was a really smart design and approach to be able to do that with the product. Something else that I thought was really cool as I looked through these, and the one that I have out here is the Dwarf. Where is it here? This one, the Dwarf Barbarian. This is another one of my favorites. There's a number of different options with this Dwarf Barbarian. I'm going to build this one next. I'm really excited about that one. So I've got that one out of the pack. But another thing that I noticed about this here as I was building the model, because I've built many of these sprue-based miniatures from other companies, was that it really was well thought out in which pieces to make cut out as separate parts of the sprue and which pieces to leave solid to eliminate mold lines. Mold lines can really be a problem when you build these sculpts right here that come on sprues, because when you put them together, if you don't get them glued perfectly, or even if you get them glued perfectly, there's like this mold line where the two pieces go together. And if you really want it to look right, you're going to have to go back and use like the green stuff or the putty or whatever you want to use to kind of fill in that crack, sand it, sort of smooth it out, and then paint it. That takes a whole nother layer of, skill, and you got to try that a couple times and make sure it all goes smoothly and it all looks good. I noticed with the build of this one, literally after the build, there are 0 mold lines. I mean, everything went together like it was a model that was just printed like this right out of the box, not something that was actually put together with sprues. So I thought that was pretty cool, and they achieved that by keeping sort of the core of the bodies as one piece, the arms being separate pieces, the arm connecting to a weapon was kind of one piece, so it eliminated all that like kind of weird gluing super, super tiny pieces together, and or having like ugly mold lines you have to come back and fix either with paint and or putty fill-in. So really well thought out and designed in the way that the sculpts are actually put together as well. I thought that was awesome. Another thing that I noticed was pieces that you could use to do what we call magnetism. Now, again, this is kind of going deeper into the hobby of building these. If you want this, like let's say there's a number of options we can do here. Like let's say you wanted the shield, but you also wanted the hand. Well, you can get a tiny little drill bit and a tiny little magnet, and you can make a little hole. You can stick those magnets on there, or you can not even make a hole and you can just put the magnets if you have something to kind of hide it a little bit. That doesn't look great unless, there's definitely a piece that's in front of it that's hiding it. You could get away with it with the shield. But there's ways that you can actually modify these where you can put little magnets in and then be able to quickly say, oh, well, I don't want this weapon. You just pop it off and then you pop on like the mace, right? If you don't want the, this weapon kind of with the smoke and everything that's going on this one, you could pop on another thing. And I thought they did a pretty good job looking at how thick those pieces were and how flat those pieces were, because you want the area to be a little bit thicker and a little bit flatter to be able to get that drill bit in there. That little, you'll use like a little drill bit just by hand and then pop and glue that magnet in there. And I thought that there was a number of areas on these sculpts that I found that like, okay, it seemed like they were thinking through that from the way that it was designed. The other thing that I noticed is the connection points for most all the pieces were very, very flat. It wasn't this weird like one piece was sort of sculpted like this and another piece was like this, and it kind of like had to fit together. That to me always produces those weird mold lines all the way around when you put one piece on another piece. They had very flat connections, so it was very easy to put a hand, like an arm with a weapon, onto a shoulder, or put a head onto the body and the neck of the unit, because it was almost perfectly flat. You just put a little bit of glue, pushed it down, kind of positioned it wherever you wanted it, and it just kind of looked like it was made that way without some kind of strange like mold line all the way around. So in doing a lot of these types of sprue-based miniatures over the years, I've got an eye for like well-designed sprue-based miniatures. It's kind of the deep dive on the review of the actual models and the miniatures. I really do like them. I am going to open up just to show you kind of one of these larger unit. Well, you know what? Let's open up the where's my stone giant? Here we go. The stone giant. Oh, I've already got it. I've already got the tape broke on this one. Okay, so let's get the stone giant out of here. The hill giant is another one that I really want. That's a really cool model as well. I got to pick up that hill giant. I want that one. I want both other. I think there's 3 dwarf models. I want the other 2 dwarf models. There's a female dwarf. I want to say maybe there's another female dwarf. I can't remember what class it is. And then there's a male dwarf fighter. And I want both of those because this one's really awesome. And then I want the hill giant. That one looks really cool. Okay, so you'll see here we got 1, 2, and it looks like 3. So 3 sprues for this one. And again, you've got that. You can kind of stack them all up together. I love this. I love the way this works. It probably goes like this. Yeah, that's the way it goes. I love the way this works with this little stacking tower. How cool is that? Where all your sprues can just stack right there. It's so clean and organized. I don't know why everybody doesn't do that. This one obviously comes with a larger base, larger model. And again, it's just one piece. It's only the front side. You're going to get your number of different options there that you can do with the build of the stone giant. So I'll show you here just what I mean with this. Like, look how much. Now this one did come in 2 pieces, I think, just because of the size of this stone giant. Where most of these smaller ones, the core body is going to be 1 piece. But look how much of the body is coming in one piece. So you get the whole front, the whole back. It isn't like the body is made up of 3 to 4 different pieces for the size of this model. It's just 2 pieces that are going to go together. And you can see they've done a nice job. We'll have to see how this one kind of pieces together when we look at like kind of the arms and the shoulders. But everything looks really good here. And you can see just how high quality you've got with these sprues. And again, we'll have all this stuff on camera up close. You can see how high quality the detail of what you've got in these are. Okay, so that is the Wizkids brand new frameworks. These are due to hit in March. They are pre-order right now. You can get them on a number of different sites for pre-order. They're due to hit on March. Again, some of your other sites are going to have a little bit of cheaper prices than MSRP. So I do suggest going to some of those places to get a little bit of cost savings off that MSRP price. But if you are into the miniature building hobby, if you have been looking for a way to get a super highly detailed version of your hero or a monster in a game that you really want to wow everybody around the table with when you put it out, this really is the way to go for price and quality and absolutely locked into that D&D IP brand. Okay? So hit that like, click the subscribe button to join the team. Keep rolling them crits. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time.